Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to the number 7 video in our 10 set series here of the Jacques Herbin Premium Fountain Pen Ink Collection. This is their standard full line. In the United States, it's exclusively available at Goulet Pens. And we're moving right along. This is all the ones we've done, and we've got 3 left after this. It's kind of hard to show, but this is a teal. And we've got a violet and then a nice bright blue with a lot of red sheen coming up. So today we're doing one called Baltic Amber. I'm just going to stick to the English because it'll be probably easier on everybody's ears. And let's just get started. Now we are still in the Bond Travel Gear Tomoya River 68 GSM notebook. This is where I start all of the profiles now. And starting right here, so this is a yellow, and it's on the darker side of the yellows, so it has pretty good readability, really. So here we are, and like I said, this ink here in the United States is only available at Goulet Pens, which is where I got mine. They sent me samples of each of the 10 inks. That was so generous and so nice of them. Thank you very much. Here we are in the broad nib. And I will link you to where you can purchase if you're interested. In the broad nib, it took about 35 seconds to dry. I did see subtle shading here and there. And then it picked up quite a bit in the stub. In the stub nib, it was a little faster to dry in that nib. And that's a Goulet nib too, on a Genhao, let's see, what do I have that on? A 159. So I did see a lot more variety in the lettering, more shading in that nib. 25 seconds to dry. And then here on this paper, in the fine nib, it did quite well. And I think it's still pretty readable here. My first impressions were that it seems too light for me. And that's pretty predictable. You guys that know me know that I like a saturated, bright, and or dark, you know, one of those has to kind of fit. And then there's a little leeway, and this one almost makes it. But there is another ink that is just a little bit more saturated or bright or something. I'll show you that I liked better. But yeah, okay, I prefer the Birmingham Golden Gazette, and that's unfortunate because I think it's hard to get that. So here is the chromatography on today's ink, the Baltic Amber. It did sort of leave a little line, kind of a peach colored or almost brown, and then it comes up and you see there's a lot of yellow in there. But it's highly movable. You could tell it's gonna move. So let's look at the water test result. I do a water test 20 minutes submerged, so these get put through quite a bit. Here it is, and you can still read it, but it's not, I would just say it has a little bit to medium water resistance, not too much, but yet to be able to still read it, we are looking a lot different than yesterday, the last one, which was the green ink, and it's all completely gone. And let's see, before that was the orange, that was completely gone. And then the red one did the same thing. Well, yeah, it did. You can see. But we had several where you could read them in this series. We had at least 3 where you could read everything you'd written after a submersion. So that's pretty interesting. Last ink, which was the green, got an A in the clean out. And that's just for your information. Okay. I really like the name of this one. And at the end of the video, we'll talk about amber, which is not a crystal, but is still in my collection. So that's a little spoiler alert there. Okay, let's get on to the Rodya. Oh my, I've got a pile of stuff here. Apparently, I have a lot of stuff to show you. Okay, this is Rodya 80 GSM dot grid paper. I had to skip a page because I made a mess there. Okay, and here we have it. 20 seconds to dry. My. Okay, and pretty good variation there. There's a little bit of shading. It isn't where I really pick up on it as shading, though. I'm spoiled. I like a super shader. But then once again, it does get a little better in the stub nib. 20 seconds to dry in that too. I can see a lot of variation there, where right in the middle of the L's, it's a lot lighter. that was pleasant. And then in the fine nib, I thought it was a little too light on this paper. The camera's making it look a little brighter than it is. So that's my note to make sure I remember that, yeah, I didn't prefer it in the fine nib. And it was okay on the other paper, on the Tomoya River, but on this paper for me, I didn't like it. That's just personal though. You can still read it back quite well. Okay, and here we have CVS Caliber notebook. Okay, oh boy, I really marked this up. I needed a red teacher pen, I guess. Okay, so here we are in the broad nib. Oh, this is so light that actually the ghosting from the green bothers me just a little, and that's very rare. Because this reacts kind of like Tomoya River paper, and but I guess this ink is quite light. I should have probably skipped over to a clean page. I'm just so cheap. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we are, 30 seconds to dry. Very little variation in the letters, and it would be hard to see because of that green on the back. Then I noticed, well, the stub nib didn't like it on this paper. So we did okay in the broad nib. Then as soon as I started writing on the CVS Caliber paper with the stub and the fine nib, I hated it, especially in the fine nib. But the stub wanted to like freak out a little too, and it was flowing really well. So I would just say, no, you don't want to use probably these kind of nibs on this paper. So the 1.5 stub and the fine Lamy nib, it, you know, between the readability, which goes downhill quite a bit in the fine nib, and the it's paper to nib and ink combo there though, so keep that in mind. Not everybody's messing with this kind of paper, I know. Okay, so that'll give us, it's just a little bit of a comparison. I liked it best on the Tomoya River paper. Let's look on the back, although that's not going to help us a whole lot. So over here, I'm perfectly happy. But notice what happens when you turn it over. This is so light, you see the green through. So that's just the paper. That's, you know, it's just not suitable, I guess, for that paper. Okay, then on the Rodya, no problems, because now we're talking about a fountain pen, a fully friendly paper. Let's see what happens on the Tomoya River paper, turning that over. Okay, that's not too bad. I believe that once you get what you're going to have over on this other side, which in this case is going to be a beautiful teal, you won't even notice that on the other side. Okay, but when we flip back, we'll probably see the blue after I get the blue there. Okay, let me just show you real quickly. This was the 52 GSM Tomoya River paper, the splatter, and it's pretty. I really believe this ink has a lot of potential, not only in your wider nibs, like in broad and stub generally. If you're on the right paper, you'll probably be happy with it, but also in art, because it becomes almost a brown. It has a lot of real prettiness, a lot of potential, I think, for artwork. Okay. So now we're going to look at a comparison panel. At least I think that's what's next. Here we go. Okay, let's see if we can get it where we can see it and read everything in the bottom. There we go. Okay, so our ink of the day is right in the middle. Jacques Herbin Baltic Amber. And at first I thought it was gonna be like a dead ringer for a Golden Gazette, which I love, and I was getting real excited. I thought, oh boy, but there's something different. There's a brightness missing. Let me see. Probably would have been best to flip back to that at the time, but we just did that one, the Golden Gazette. Okay, and it may be a little bit tough. Okay. That was a mistake, but let's go ahead and try that. So here's the Birmingham Golden Gazette. I felt like there was more readability. There was a lot of shading. So there was something different about that just personally struck a chord with me, I guess. And then there was another one, too, that I wanted to show you. And that was Robert Oster Honeybee. Might as well do this, and then we'll look at the panel. Robert Oster Honeybee is interestingly very similar, but there's a difference there too. And it's actually harder to pick out the differences between Honeybee and Golden Gazette. But let's go ahead and compare today's ink to the Honeybee. Okay, we've got quite a difference there. This appears lighter, and if I remember right, I was fussy about that too. So I was definitely, I said it's light for me, but a warm tone. So I like the tone, and I would use the color, I'm sure, but just not in a nib, which makes it a little bit tough to justify. Okay. Now that I have really made a mess, let's go back to what we had planned here. I guess it really does help to look there first, because then we can sort of remember. So Golden Gazette was brighter. I think I want to say warmer. So it's bolder on the page to me anyway. Definitely I would like eliminate the honeybee one, because that one just I could use in art, but I wouldn't be happy with it. And then this one had made such an impression on me. And in a nib, Apache Sunset looks a lot more like today's than I really realized. And I was glancing through some papers, but I'm not going to put you through that again, trying to search for it. But it is interesting how similar it looks, because there's that component, that yellow in there. And then some of these are not really yellows, but they're the like KWZ standard honey. And if you want to get much more saturated and you want an ink that leans more toward brown, then I would suggest any of these here. I thought Papier Plume Caramel was pretty darn light. I don't actually recommend that for myself, but I wanted to put it on the panel because it's in that ballpark, kind of. And I don't have very many yellows, really. Three Oysters Mustard, I don't think I like that one. I have a memory that I didn't like that one very much. It just didn't quite do it for me. So, but this one's pretty. It's just, it's not yellow. To me, that's a wheat or a light brown kind of. Some of these kind of go toward gold and everything, so it gets confusing. But let's confuse it even more. Let's look at what else I was driven to pull out of my collection. The first one was Noodlers Rome Burning, which has nothing to do with yellow. It's gold, it's darker, but it's just so pleasing in a nib. But for some reason, it makes me say, well, rather than write with this, I would write with this. And that's what I was thinking about. And then I do remember that I really liked this one, Diatramentus Pearlescent Whiskey Copper. It managed to stay saturated enough, and I wrote empty vial. Okay, that's supposed to mean, wow, I like that, I guess. I need to start writing those things on the back. But this is not yellow either, really. It's to me, it's gold, but it says copper, but it's kind of got a patina. It's darker in a nib. I remember really liking it. And it's a shimmer ink, too. Did I give you that experience there? It really does shimmer. Okay, then this one, this recent other yellow, I guess it's yellow. I'm not really sure. The Dust Storm that I just didn't like. I said that was the only one in 30 Inks 30 Days that I just hated it. I just didn't like it. And then, okay, Noodlers Golden Brown. Now we're way out of range even of these wheat kind of light brown inks, but that's a nice one, and I know that shows up better in a nib, but if you're looking for yellow, you probably aren't reaching for that. Oh, here's another one that's kind of brown. It is brown. Diamine Tobacco Sunburst. These are the inks, I guess, that I think of if I'm wanting to go that light, or if I'm wanting to yeah, I guess I veer toward brown or gold rather than yellow in writing. So okay, so what did I think of the ink? Oh gosh. Well, this one here, there's really nothing wrong with this. This is all personal. I just don't care for the color. It's not saturated enough for me. And you know, me having problems with the stub on that CVS paper, that should probably just be eliminated because of the paper, because I didn't have trouble really on Rodya or Tomoya River paper as far as the writing. Maybe the readability on the Rodya wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I just marked it kind of low on saturation, because for me that's like the pits for saturation, but the flow was still really good. Gave it a 7. And then the shading was below average, so rather than 5, it's down below average. No bleeding or feathering. The dry time was pretty reasonable on everything, so I gave that an average. I didn't see sheen, halo, or shimmer. Still overall, I only gave it a 4, but that's, you know, the color's just not there for me. But it's a, well, you know how it goes. We have to give an opinion, and that's kind of my opinion for me anyway. In fact, I'm beginning to understand how much this would have helped. Like, say, if I had something like this to look back on, if I had it for Dust Storm and Honeybee and Golden Gazette, and if I was using sort of a standard rating system like this, I'm beginning to see how helpful that might be. Even though my opinion might change, or depending on what pen and nib I had it in. But I tend to always start with a broad Yowo nib. So I'd be looking at broad Yowo nib. The only difference would be the ink. Then I am really beginning to see how I would like to be able to look back now and see that. All I really have from the past is just what I kept track of in the ink journal, which is fine, and there's a lot of information there, but it certainly has changed a lot how much I can look back and see. So I think some rating system is going to be, I'm going to continue to use a rating system like that. So I'm going to show you what happened in the visual journal. I went ahead and did it because I wanted to go over the, I wanted to talk about the amber. Okay, so here it is. Now, this Baltic Amber ink just gets blown away by any other color, it seems like. Even up here, this was the Baltic Amber too, and the green just overtook it. And same thing happened here with the blue Austral or whatever. You can tell it just sort of goes on the page. It doesn't move a lot, but it mixed really nicely with the blue and made some green. And it's pretty, but it has to have something else. Like if it was just that, it would be so boring to look at. So that's how it came out. Now, it's been a long time since I talked about a crystal, and I'm still not talking about a crystal, because what this is amber. And of course, I thought to go get it off of my shelf because of the name of today's ink, Baltic Amber. It's the one piece of amber in my collection. I think well, I have to be honest, I think it set me back $16. So I was like, wow, it's really lightweight, super, super lightweight. But I just love the energy of it, and I had wanted a piece in my collection for a long time. So what it is, it's not a crystal, it's fossilized tree sap. So isn't that interesting? Or I guess they call it either sap or resin. And it's been used for a long, long time for healing. So let's read about it in Crystals for Beginners by Karen Frazier. This is the book I really recommend if you're just getting in or want to study crystals, rocks, the whole 9 yards. Okay, it says right here, amber is not technically a crystal. It's petrified tree sap. However, many people use it like a crystal because it has healing properties. It's best known in alternative healthcare as an anti-inflammatory used in baby teething necklaces. They wear it while supervised and don't actually chew on it. Oh wow, I didn't even know that. I'm reading that kind of for the first time. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so they claim that it helps with pain and inflammation, generating positive energy. That's the reason I got it. Generating positive energy and stress relief, cleansing, relieving anxiety, that kind of thing. But it's just beautiful too, and that's why I collect these. So it says it works well. By itself, it's quite powerful, but works well in conjunction with clear quartz. I have it over on my bookshelf with some quartz crystal. So let's see. For arthritis-related pain in the hands, try wearing an amber bracelet. I've never seen an amber bracelet. That's neat. On the solar plexus chakra near any area of pain or inflammation as jewelry in a pocket. I just think it just has a lovely energy, but I think the energy of yellow and the golden yellow tones have such just color energy to begin with. So that's why I wanted to show you. Okay, so now what we're doing next, we have 3 more to finish. Let's see, let me make sure I tell you correctly because there's 2 blue ones. Yeah, we're going to go to this one next. This is the blue Astral. And the thing about it is, I'm really hoping to be able to show it better because to me it looks sort of teal, and it's coming through quite a bit bluer here, but I'll see what I can do before I do that video. I'll be cleaning my pens today and starting on this one, and then we'll go to the violet, and then the last one will be the brighter blue that is just a very interesting how that looks more like itself than the one right beside it. But anyway, I hope that that this helped you to learn a little bit more about Baltic Amber from this line of inks, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. I definitely don't hate it. It's not like that dust storm one where I just want to, dump it down the sink. It's not like that. It's just that I'd have to be picking and choosing, paper and the nib for sure, making sure that I wasn't just expecting it to write on my cheaper notebook that is the CVS caliber and that kind of thing. So let me know what you think, and I'm very impatiently waiting a package from up north. It's in San Antonio, and it's come really quickly so far, but it's coming from Dromgools, and it is the TWSBI inks. So we're going to be having those to start comparing and reviewing real soon. So I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.